Well, this week has been crazy, and not just personal life, but this was a bit weird too. Before I get to it, I got a reply on YouTube. I know I wasn't going to be reading YouTube comments. It's the Google Plus system that warns me that I should really watch Garo before I watch Makai Hana. Yeah, they're right. I should watch the first Garo series, and it will probably answer a lot of my questions. I don't have the time right now. I want to finally start watching Garo, but I don't have the time to start getting into it, and I don't have the time to research it. Really, even doing these vlogs is a big dig into the time I really don't have between uploading new stuff, or uploading old stuff and working on the new stuff, and this is pretty much the break I get between doing that and a bunch of other things I need to do just for... Anyways, Toqger 8. They found another support Russia. It's broken, of course, but... trying to phrase this correctly in my head. Shadowline comes to attack them with a living bomb. No surprise, but it's a diversion for... Okay, sorry, communication failure. Anyways, they found a support train. It's broken. Shadowline sets up a diversionary tactic because they feel like they're getting close to getting the boss, their Shadow King. I'm blanking on the name. I suck with names because he's not in the show yet. Back, so they send a bomb as a diversion to distract them from from setting up other Shadowline stations that they need to get the guy into the realm, and so the Toqgers are kind of split. Problem is, the living bomb is easy to beat. He's intentionally easy to beat, so they'll call the trains so they can get on the train and mess it up. Yeah, then it gets stupid. Really, really stupid, because they missed the pretty obvious shadows in the thing by not looking up or looking down at the wrong times, and admittedly, the shadow seems like it's, the shadow form of the monster seems like it's really fast, so it might have just been doing the normal hiding behind their backs, sort of just out of sight trick, which I admit is a bit funny, and actually fits with the level of intelligence I expect from the Toqger, but then more stupid happens in that it damages the brakes on the first train, which is usually driving, and fuses the accelerator, so it's accelerating. Now, this will come into play later, but there are two major problems with this. One, each of the trains has its own power, in that it has its own controls, because when they split, the other trains just don't stop. So they could go to the other trains and put the brakes on them. Two, it's a major point that it's trying to crash the train. The trains can fly. What the hell? So yeah, they have secondary, tertiary, auxiliary, and there are 4 other trains with brakes that could stop it, and they could avoid crashing by flying the trains. I don't know, maybe it damaged other stuff, but because at the end of the battle they actually split the trains and used their flying gimmick, so maybe that was also damaged. And that was part of the temporary repairs they did before the final big boss battle, but still, it's obvious! Wright's thing for the episode is getting the diesel Russia working, which makes them come off kind of creepy. Again, it's like Wagon did in a previous episode by searching out the kids when you're an adult. You usually don't do that if you're past a certain age point and alone. Anyways, they find the Diesel Russia at a children's museum, which makes sense in context, and then he proceeds to get the Diesel Russia working again by cleaning it. Not exactly very imaginative, which is one of my recurring complaints with this series. It's not very imaginative, aside from the occasional point that's just ludicrous. Ludicrous and imaginative are not the same thing. So yeah, they get the Diesel Russia working. There's an interesting thing there, where that on the panels they show 1 through 5, and then an O. Tokyu, Ichigo, Nigo, Sango, Yongo, Gogo, and Rokugo, and then Tokyu O. We don't know, not as in O as in king, O as in the letter. And I have to distinguish this for some audiences. So there's the potential to have a 6-man band and an extra ranger, a 7-man band, or a 6-man band and a potential evil Toqger. We're not sure how that'll go. We know initially a lot of people thought that the support trains were going to come under the command of a 6th ranger, but from new preview images, he's getting his own mech, and this is just the secondary mech for the main team. I admit, the episode was pretty well paced, all things considered, and they didn't go for the automatic, oh, we've got the new mech, hey, we can combat it with the support mechs. No, they're doing that next episode. Which, again, good for the pacing, because then again, it gives us more time to supply the stupid that I've been disliking about this series. Gaim 25. Hideyasu, who we haven't seen as more than Oren's butt monkey. Actually, he's been the consistent butt monkey through the series, if one thinks about it. He realizes how things have degraded when he's still hoping to get back to what he had. He also doesn't know that Hase is dead. What? So, he laments this in Oren's presence, that he's pretty much just done nothing and needs to change, and then Oren's antics begin, in that he admits, well, Oren's thing from the beginning is that he saw them as playing at war, and war is not something to play at, so he intervened to show them what they should be doing. And then his stick became the wild card. And, of course, it got worse as he hasn't realized that the Invest game is no longer a game, and no one's playing it. And that they're not doing the Invest invasions for sports things. He finally understands that at the end of the episode. It's just that I'm amazed he didn't catch on earlier. Because no one's had locked seats aside from the riders. And yet, when he's fighting one of them and none of their support teams around, there's no one summoning them out of the lock seats. I don't think he's that stupid. He's eccentric and crazy, but he's not stupid. We know that because he modified a lock seat in a previous episode, and he doesn't... Yeah. Not stupid. Anyways. He ends up he gets Hideyasu training both in non-transformed and in transformed forms, and it's wacky. It is very wacky. And then the cross-dressing incident happens. Why, Japan? It's in nearly every tokusatsu series I watch. Black RX, Jetman, I think it was in Black, I know it was in Stronger. It's in a lot of the series, and cross-dressing is not funny. If you're a cross-dresser, hey, nothing against you. I just don't like it being used as comedy. It's the same thing with, a lot of other things. Now, I didn't mind the supporting character from Wizard, whose name I'm blanking on, who was either crossdresser, effeminate, or transgendered. I don't know. I don't remember. I know the person was actually a crossdresser comedian, which I liked less, but the character he was playing did not bug me, as they used him as a joke now and then. They gave her the appropriate courtesy, respect, in that I didn't mind it as much. I didn't think it was a problem, aside from a few incidents like the Wizard 4's movie, where they made her a joke punchline at the end, which kind of irked me, but that was better in Wizard. And Wizard was not that good, despite some of the elements that I really liked, like the powers. So, for Gaim to fall prey to this trope that I hate, that's not a good sign, especially since it's from Gen Urobuchi, who seemed to be rather on the ball about this kind of thing. I don't know, maybe it was a mandate or something, since Oren is... I don't even know what to call Oren. Gay? Feminine? I don't know at this point. So yeah, Oren makes Hideyasu dress up in drag. It does not end well. And it makes Hideyasu quit because that's the last indignity. I mean, training the fight better, that I get. Except that then he started to try and do the carbon copy thing, which, in hindsight, might have just been Oren trying to find his breaking point where he stands up for himself. I don't know, but structure-wise, it didn't really work. So Hideyasu goes to Drumpers and encounters Kota, who sort of informs him on what's been going on, in that everything he's missed, except he doesn't tell him about Hase. Yeah, this is becoming Yuya all over again. Anyways, Oren comes there and attacks Kota because he thinks it's still the delinquency invest game thing, and that Kota has tried to explain to him before is no longer happening, because, yeah, the last person to use the lock seeds to summon invests was Hideyasu to help Oren. Yeah. Okay, admittedly, that's the beat writers that last used them, and then there was the criminal faction that Sid was doing, but last time the people he'd previously been blaming for was actually done by, So, Oren comes in, Kota drags him out, they end up getting attacked by invests, a lot of invests. Hideyasu follows and ends up taking a blow meant for them, which injures him, and as Oren's taking care of him, Kota goes Kachidoki, continuing to be awesome Kachidoki, and blows the rest of him away. And as Oren's getting him out of there, Hideyasu wakes up and informs him that the motivations for the invest game are no longer there, so it doesn't make sense for the invest to still being done by the beat writers, and that finally gets through to him on this. And the episode ends with him finding a crack and appearing to jump in, but the freeze frame at the end implies that he got injured as the crack was closing, or got stuck in it as the crack was closing. We don't know, or it might have just been a joke. I don't know at this point. Subplot of the episode is Ryoma, Sid and Yoko confronting DJ Sagara. DJ Sagara is pretty much confirmed to be a manifestation of the Helheim Forest at this point. Ryoma wanting to get answers, which Sagara addresses, and running theme for it has been the fruits, the forbidden fruits, the fruit of ultimate power, and Ryoma brings this up through representatives of mythology, the golden apple of Eris, ambrosia of the Greek gods, this kind of mythical, powerful fruits in times of conflict that brings unyielding power. And I like this. It's playing into mythology in a great way, and I that was a good background setting for how their theories of the Helheim has been around for a long time, and it's just been building up force. And though it begs the question of what accelerated it, if it's been around for this time, or maybe it charges up and times of conflict sate it. But then again, 40 years of constant rider battles and Sentai battles that it could partake in, and, or in contrast, maybe that's woke it up. But point is, Ryoma is after the divine power of the Helheim. These mythical fruits from mythology that he wants to become a god. Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen a scientist in this series that wants to become a god. Granted, Ryoma's doing it differently than other scientists have, which is always a good thing. You can reuse an element as long as the characters and their actions are not the same, and that's the good way of recycling elements and tropes and stuff. So he's giddy about that, but Sagara tells them that the fruit only appears after a time of conflict, and only one will claim it, meaning the victor at the end of the battle. Which, at this point, is probably going to be Kota, since he's got the power form which is more powerful than all of the other forces. Then again, it's an alliance of 3 energy riders. And one other thing I'm thinking of... Oh yeah, he told them they're in the possession of the overlords. Which... That's probably a lie, in that it's in Sagara's possession, but he wants his... Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Kind of thing. Which is what that's been going off of. He set up the Invest games. He wants this... He's seeing all this conflict as entertainment, and keeps increasing the stakes, building it up higher and higher, so he'll get what he's after. And it's still indistinct at this point. So if Sagara is the bad guy, then what is that alternate Mai? I'm still thinking time travel duplicate, or representative of the lost humanity from the Helheim that just took that form because she saw... Actually, maybe she's the spirit of that tree. The tree Yggdrasil is using to access the Helheim forest from. Because that's an invest tree. And yet it didn't do any invasive fruit. It's a Helheim plant that didn't become an invasive species once it entered reality. So maybe since she and the Earth's Mai and Kaito played with it as a kid, maybe she's a benevolent spirit that took root as kind of a seal, and then Yggdrasil did something stupid that woke up the forest after the tree had stealed it. I'm just musing at this point on possibilities. We'll know eventually. Sooner than I'd like, unfortunately, since Gaim is still having that constant rumor of it being canned early, which is really not a good idea. Garo. We got a bit more about Mayuri and the Raigas. Raiga's treating her like a human, while others seem to be treating her like a thing. I know we gotta address this, but it's gonna be I'm liking this because I'm a big Outlaw Star fan, and Melfina from that series started viewing herself as a thing, and Jean and the others encouraged her to grow and not avoid questioning her existence and a bunch of other things, and yeah, her development's going to be slow. Right now, she's pretty much live-action Rei Ayanami with black hair. Not exactly a bad thing, but she's kind of restrained. Monster of the Week was a Black Widow spider lady who eats people and took on the form of a beggar. Yeah, it got a bit weird. An interesting power from her in that she could take on the form of garbage, trash, mechanical things. The climactic battle, she turns into a, what's the construction tool? Backhoe, shovel, thing. The thing with the long arm that scoops up. I'm blanking on the name of the construction equipment, but it is, it was pretty cool to have Raiga fighting construction equipment as, a normal-sized human and beating it off and, stabbing it. Because this is usually the stuff that, well, I reviewed Jay a while back, and he got rammed by construction equipment, and he did not do well against it. Read a bit more setup with, explaining what Eris is, in that one of the 9 horrors that were sealed with her, one of them has the seed of Eris, and Eris will awaken in 100 days, so they're on a time crunch to find all the horrors and the seed. And what awoke them was a Makai priest, probably something in the segments of Garo I have not gotten to, I apologize. There's also the implication that Eris was corrupted by the horrors. I'm not completely certain on that, but it's implied by some of the ways the phrase discussing it that Eris was always something to be used by the horrors. Apparently it'll fuse the human world and the demon world, which is not exactly original, but still something to be avoided. I know a few other series with demons and demon-like creatures have tried this. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Yu Yu Hakusho, blanking on others because I don't watch a lot of outright demon-inclusive shows, so yeah, I'm blanking on other examples. We also meet Crow, who is a Makai Knight from a related region, because one region, one Makai Knight, normally. That's going to be the second man to the band, and we don't know what armor he uses. Different Makai Knights use different armors, and I'm thinking he might be the Zero. Zero is one of the other armors, but we don't know at this point. He's kind of standoffish and assertive until he finds out that Raiga is the current Garo, which is a bit odd, but he also doesn't really join in the battle, wanting to see what Raiga was going to do. Not exactly a bad thing, but kind of puts him off as lazy in that he's not even really doing support. I'm trying to remember what else I wanted to say, but I think that's kind of all I got for this week. So, Toqger, par for the course. Gaim, weird character attempting development, not doing that well. I'd probably say, despite my enjoyment of Oren as the wild card, it's probably one of the weaker episodes of the series. And Makai Flower, good, really good fight scenes. I recommend it for the. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. There was this inclusive bit about CGI that was not very long, but seemed a bit off for what they've been doing. What little experience I have with it. I'm partway into Zero. I'll have a vlog with it soon once I get time. Wasn't that bad. So, Makai Flower this week, continuing setup, overall good. And that's it from me. See you next week.